Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Adult Chair on rashpixel.fm. I'm Pete Wright, and I am here, thrilled, once again, to be here with Michelle Chalfant.
Hi, Pete.
How are you, Michelle?
I'm really excited about today.
Oh, I am too. We have a great interview ahead. But first, the preamble. Head over to theadultchair.com to learn more about this show. And after you hear this interview, you're going to want to make sure you are subscribed in iTunes or your favorite podcast app of choice. You can join our mailing list or just search for us, The Adult Chair. You can't miss it. You can join this conversation on Facebook or Twitter, and you can always call us. Leave your message with your thoughts and questions at 931-463-3813, 931-463-3813, and get your voice on this show. We would very much love to hear from you. This week on the show, we are thrilled to welcome author, speaker, and storyteller Tony Burroughs to the show. His books, movies, and seminars have served to redefine how we think about possibility in our lives through intentionality. Through his work, communities of intenders exist around the world dedicated to achieving their highest potential as individuals and communities. As a part of our ongoing conversation on intention, we are thrilled to introduce Tony Burroughs to you all. Tony, welcome to the Adult Chair, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Pete. Thank you, Michelle. Good to be here.
So, Tony, I know, in case some of our listeners do not know who you are, I would love to start out with you letting us know a little bit about who you are and the code and intentionality. And what you don't know is that last week on our podcast, Pete and I talked a lot about resolution versus intention. So this is the perfect timing of all of this, of course. So we can't wait to hear more of what you have to say about intention. But to start out, would you just mind letting our listeners know a little bit about who you are?
Well, again, my name is Tony Burroughs, and I'm a co-founder of a worldwide intentional community called the Intenders of the Highest Good. We're at intenders.com and highestlighthouse.com. And all this started for me pretty much. I was farming avocados on the big island of Hawaii some 20-some years ago, and got together with three friends one evening, and we were just sitting around the table talking about how we could help each other in our lives. And we ran across the word intention, and we looked it up in the dictionary, and it said that an intention was a moving toward. So we realized that if we're making an intention, we're moving toward that which we desire. And so I can't really tell you how it happened, Pete and Michelle. We just started putting intentions in our little circle of four, and lo and behold, over the next couple of weeks, they started manifesting like crazy for us, and we kept meeting and got together every week and for quite a while. And at the end of the first year, there were 9 of us who were getting together every week and saying our intentions and sitting in a circle. And after a while, we also realized that gratitude was all important because we had such gratitude for the intentions that were manifesting for us. And of course, gratitude, as we learned in the long run, is a key to not only our manifesting skills, but to our happiness. So we put our gratitudes and intentions in our circle. And as I said, at the end of the first year, there were 9 of us. And then one night, 35 people showed up.
Wow.
And we were in a little house in the south corner of the Big Island, and barely cramped in this house. And fortunately, we had a lot of food because we have great potlucks at these intender circles.
This was 35 people just showed up out of the blue. They just heard about this, or is this something that you'd, dare I say, intended to grow?
Well, clearly, there was a time when we intended to grow it. I don't really remember when it was, but we did intend that it gets bigger. But at this point, we really didn't. It was just a word of mouth thing, Pete. And so we were surprised as anybody by it. But one of the people who came to the circle that night, of 35 people, took it to the other side of the island, the Kona side of the island, and somebody took it from there back to the Bay Area. A guest was visiting that night in the Kona Circle, and they took it back to Petaluma, California, outside San Francisco. And not too long after that, I came over to the mainland to talk to this group, and and actually ended up staying there for about a year. And at the end of a year, there were 17 Entender Circles in the Big Island, and it flashed across the country from there. And I must tell you that the four of us who started this thing, me and Mark and Betsy and Tina, we were as in awe, and we still are as in awe of what happened as anyone, because we never dreamed that it was going to grow this big as it is today. And so it's been a true blessing for us, and it's been the driving force in my life, is because obviously in order to work with intention and to write books about intention, I've had to integrate these principles into my own life.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's been a trial and error method, and we've taken the best of what we've learned, and we've been willing to change things all along, willing to correct things that weren't working, or drop things that weren't working, and add things that. And in fact, one of the things we added a few years ago was not only to say our intentions and our gratitudes in the circle, but also to share our visions of our ideal world, and know that in the sharing of our visions for our ideal world, that in that moment we are actively and consciously contributing to the creation of it. So it was a way for us to know that we were making a difference. And so nowadays we say our intentions, our gratitudes, and our visions for our ideal world. I see a world where, we're all living in peace, for instance. And I never dreamed I was going to write books about this. In the beginning, I'm an avocado farmer by trade. I farmed avocados for 18 years on the Big Island of Hawaii before all this started happening, and was somewhat reclusive and living way back in the hills, and was very fortunate to meet a master and be part of a mystery school during that 18 years. And nobody really knew what we were doing, but we were refining our spiritual endeavors, and then when I met Mark and Tina and Betsy, when we started our Entender Circles, it wasn't too long after we started 2, 3, 4 weeks that Mark said that Tina had a gift, and that she was a messenger or a channel. And I said, well, what's going on here? What I've been doing over the last 18 years is sitting there watching the avocado trees grow. I said, what's this all about? And she says, well, I say a prayer and go into a quiet space, and through me comes a being, and the being's name is Ching. And it turned out that I said, well, again, all I've been doing is hanging around the farm here and working with the avocados for the last umpteen years. I said, I want to talk to Ching. Let's get Ching out of the box. And so she agreed to that. And sure enough, what happened next was something I never would have imagined. She said her prayer, and out came the most loving, caring being I ever met in my entire life. And over the next many years, I asked Ching every question I could possibly think of to ask, because we started having 30-minute spiritual guidance sessions with Ching after we put our gratitudes and intentions and visions in our circles. And as you can imagine, the circles were growing like crazy at this time after this came on. And so I asked him, what's going on with the economy, and what's going on with the government, and what's going on with my gardens, and what's going on with my love life, and what's going on with all these things. And looking back on it, Michelle, he answered all these questions both accurately and with such love that we really never wanted these sessions together to end.
Wow, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh. What an amazing
basically
story.
That's it.
Yeah. Wow.
That's what's been the driving force in my life, is I've had these two masters, BJ back in the mystery school in Kona, and then Ching on the other side of the island in Hilo, and both of them added to all the information that I ended up putting in all these books.
Wow. So with all that you learned over all this time with these two teachers and masters, what do you think is the difference between, because we all know about law of attraction and The Secret, and I mean that's been around obviously for thousands of years, but it became really popularized by the movie The Secret and the book. Mm-hmm. So how is it that what you're doing, intention, is different from what they're doing. Because I don't find that law of attraction, I don't like to use the word works. I know that it's always in effect, but there are things sometimes that we're blocked and we can't manifest those. But I know when I did an intention circle based on your book, I was amazed at the people in our group that were able to attract.
Right.
They were really able to manifest exactly what they were looking for. And it might not have manifested in the way that they thought it would, but man, we were manifesting like crazy in our Entender Circle. So what is the difference between, with what The Secret might have talked about versus how you would teach manifestation? What is the difference?
Clearly, we have one huge difference between what we were doing and what The Secret was doing. And that is, in a word, is the highest good. We say that in order for our intentions to manifest, that they must serve the highest and best good of the universe, ourselves, and everyone everywhere. And then we say, as you know, so be it, and so it is. And it's this highest good clause that The Secret left out. And so, when you leave it out, you can get anything, whatever, whenever, anything can happen. Sure. But if you put this highest good clause in there, then if it's not for your highest good, it won't manifest. And if it is for your highest good, it will, because the law of attraction basically is that our thoughts create our future, and that is a fact. Our thoughts do create our future. It's just a question of how do we take that piece of information and put it to its highest and best use. So we found that we didn't want to make any intentions unless we put that highest good clause in. And I can tell you that I personally started out as an ambassador for intentionality, and I still am, of course, but along the way I became also an ambassador for the highest good.
Yes, I agree.
I think that's a really good point, and it's one of the things that's always sort of stuck in my craw around The Secret too. It's that it becomes a place for just sort of the exercise of ego. The things that I want in the world, I should just be able to get if I think hard enough about it. And it's one of the things that has stuck out to me with this manifestation of intentionality through the highest good. How do you think about the role sort of ego plays in intentionality and intender circles, or is that is that something that comes into your work?
Sure. Most people just fulfill the material desires at first and don't think so much about the more lofty desires or the inner pursuits. And they are connected to the ego in many, many ways. And we asked about that in our guidance sessions, Pete, early on, about our desires, because we've been taught in our culture that, there is something wrong with having those desires. Sweep those desires under the rug. There's, if you got desires, there's I don't know about you. So, but the answer, we asked Li Ching about that, and the answer we got was actually profound. We found that he told us that we come into this lifetime with a certain set of desires, and that that one of the ways that we can proceed in our lives to find our highest upliftment is to learn to get proficient at fulfilling those desires. In other words, knock them off one at a time until there aren't any anymore. And the Buddhists teach also that there is that the way out of suffering and the way to our highest fulfillment is through reaching a state of desirelessness. And yet what Li Ching told us was that there's different ways of reaching this state of desirelessness. We can either be like a monk in the East or a yogi and perhaps go into a cave or go up on a mountain for anywhere from 20 minutes to 20 years and transcend our desires through meditation and prayer and so forth. And that is a bona fide way to come to that point of desirelessness where our suffering goes away and we reach our highest happiness. In the West, Li Ching told us, he said that things are different here, and that spiritual pursuit plays a much smaller role here in America than it does in other parts of the world, and that we tend to be more materially oriented here, wanting to amass great wealth in the form of money and possessions and so forth. And he said there's nothing wrong with this. He said that it's just that you want to get good at that fulfillment of desires. You want to get proficient with it because, again, you can, after you manifest all your desires, you also reach that same state of desirelessness that the Buddhists do. So, it's just that here again in the West, our culture is set up where we've been barraged with desires by Madison Avenue and advertising and the TV and the newspapers over and over since we were before kindergarten. We were, basically, what we found out is that those desires actually. You use the word ego, but one of the ways to do it is to the fulfillment of desire is to get good at manifesting, get good at getting that which we desire to come to us as easily and effortlessly as possible. And I don't know about you, but I've been doing this so long that I really don't have many desires anymore. Sometimes they pop up down the road a bit, but I've come to learn that with the highest good in play, if they're for my highest good, it'll come to me. And if it isn't for my highest good, I've learned to do without it.
What exactly is an Entender Circle?
Well, an Entender Circle is a group of people who are basically sitting in a circle because we've learned that the same thing that the ancestors knew, the ancients knew it, the Native Americans know it, that in a circle, everybody has equal access to everybody else. There's nobody sitting up on the podium or the pulpit just taking all the energy to themselves. In a circle, the energy is equally dispersed among all the participants. So first of all, we wanted to sit in circles, and then we set a little format that where we basically start out by having a short guided meditation. And first, we eat some food. We share food in a potluck, and then we meet in the circle.
That sort of goes without saying, of course.
Absolutely.
Got to have the food.
Got to have food.
It just makes it right.
Right.
Absolutely. So then we sit in the circle, and one person at a time will first say their gratitudes. I'll give you an example. If it were my turn in the circle, I would say, I'm grateful for talking with the two of you here this day, and grateful for everything in my life because it's clicking on all cylinders. And then I would say my intentions. If I had gratitudes about things that had manifested for me, by the way, I would state my gratitudes for the vacuum I just manifested that just came into my life free or whatever. And I use that as an example because that's what just happened. And then I'd say my intentions. For instance, I'd say I intend that I am happy, healthy, enjoying my life to the fullest, living fully and freely, and if I needed a new car, I intend that I have a new car. And in other words, since there's no limit on what we can think, there's no limit on what we can intend. So people tend to start out with the material things, the jobs, the money, the relationships, and so forth, and that after a while their intentions will get a little more lofty, where they're intending for good things for the world or for spiritual experience, inner experience, and so forth. And then I would say my vision for my ideal world. For instance, I would say I see a world where every child born on this planet, from the minute they're born here until the minute they leave, that they know that they are loved, honored, cared for, nurtured by every other being who lives on this earth. And then I'd say, so be it. And so I'd say, are you with me, or are you in alignment with me? And everybody in the circle presumably would say yes. And then I'd say, so be it. And everybody in the circle would say, so, and so it is. And then we'd say, it is done, it is done, it is done. And in that way, you have everybody aligning and envisioning your intentions coming true, coming into manifestation. And it's a more the merrier kind of a thing. The more people you can get to align with you, the quicker and easier they'll manifest.
I was just going to say, there's such power in that. I remember when we did our intention circle last year, there was so much power in stating my intention or my intentions, plural, and had everybody in the group, validate those intentions. It was really powerful. Great.
That is an interesting thing too, right? It's this idea that is it possible to be fully intentional and open to the highest good, or in praise of the highest good alone?
Sure.
I mean, and I guess I should say, how did you discover that the role of the group, the circle, became so important to this? And then you can take on the individual piece too.
Yeah. Well, we didn't know what we were doing in the beginning. We just we started out in a circle of four, so we started out in the community aspect of it, making our individual intentions, but each aligning with the other's intentions, and right away we saw that's working. So, and then we also started getting guidance, and part of the guide, and we were all getting individual guidance because we were intending that we were going to get individual guidance, and because Lee Ching told us, he said he's not exclusive to Tina; he'll come through us too. And after a while, Betsy was bringing through the Mother Mary so beautifully, and another lady named Lois Fopiano was bringing through White Buffalo Calf Woman, and Lee Ching was coming through me as well, and so forth. So we started getting our own guidance, and the guidance we were receiving was to say our intentions individually every morning when we got up. And what we found out as we did that was that if we got up in the morning and said our intentions, or it could be your prayers or affirmations, they all do work. Get up in the morning and say your intentions, everything goes better. Everything goes easier for people that get up and do that. Their life goes smoother. They get the things that they want in life. They set a direction. They set their course for the day. And those who do that, everything is easier for them. Whereas those who get up in the morning and have a cup of Starbucks and hit the ground running, well, anything goes, whatever, whenever. So through our experience, we realized that setting the course for the day made a difference for us individually. And the intention process itself was actually born out of that, because the intention process is threefold. Get up in the morning and say your intentions. Get together with a group of like-minded, light-hearted people once a week and share your intentions in a circle every week or two. And then line it all up with the highest good as the third aspect. And we found if we did those three things, everything came to us.
I've got a question for you about doubt. What do you say to the people that are coming in, or maybe starting an intention circle or joining one, that have tremendous doubt? Maybe they, everything is going wrong in their lives. They don't have enough money to pay bills, or they can't get a job. How would you address them?
Well, I would say just test it, first of all. Mm-hmm. And of course, we've had people who came to our circles and didn't want to take part the first time around, and then they, after they saw what happened, they'd come back the next week or two, and then they were jumped right in because they could see that what was going on. But basically, we tell them to test it and just make an intention and line it up with the highest good, and you'll see if it's for the highest good, it's going to manifest for you, because your thoughts are creative. They do create your future. They do create your world. And so just let all of the unserving thoughts and all of the sabotaging thoughts, let all those go, and just be open to receive from both expected and unexpected sources. And we found that if people did that, everything seemed to work perfectly. In fact, we were told in our guidance one time that there's a beginner's luck factor, Michelle. We were told that there are, this is going to get a little woo-woo for some of you folks out there, but that there are invisibles and that there are angelic beings who follow these circles around, that they follow anybody around who is willing to line up with the highest good. And that they see to it that your first few intentions are manifested unmistakably, so you can't miss it. And I have seen that in my experience happen over and over these last 20 years, that newbies, that beginners, as long as they'll give it a test, that it'll start to alleviate their skepticism, alleviate their doubt. And we found that there's a progression of power, and the progression starts with testing, and you test it and you get a win, test it again, and you get another win, and you begin to build up the second stage in the progression, which is trust. You begin to build up trust in this process, so you're using it more than you would have before, and then that trust turns into confidence, and you start getting confident with it. And maybe previously you wouldn't have used this intention process. Now you're using it freely, and then that takes you to the fourth stage, which we call a knowing. And when you get to that knowing, I'm at that knowing, so I just know that whatever it is, if it's for my highest good, it's going to manifest for me, and even faster nowadays. Wow. And then that takes you to the fifth step, which is we call courage. Now you're using it in situations where you may have been afraid to use it before, or just using it fully and freely. And that takes you to the final stage, the sixth stage in the step of progressions of power, and it's called fortitude. You become like a rock, like the impenetrable castle atop the mountain, Lord over all you survey, able to manifest at will. And every one of us in our circles is in one of those six stages, working their way to the top of the mountain.
Wow.
I love hearing the way you frame that. I think that, and I'll speak personally here, and those that I've worked with, when we are at our worst, it seems to be fundamentally rooted in a belief system that we cultivate around the control that we have and that we do not have in what we can accomplish in this world. That we end up believing that we are somehow limited to that which we can immediately touch or that which we can immediately see, and that is the thing that serves to fuel this unintentional even judgment of self-worth or lack of it. And it sounds like what you're saying, and particularly in light of this progression of power, that helps you move through and beyond that sense of judgment and doubt.
You sort of said it. It just does.
Let's talk a little bit about your current work.
I've got 3 movies out, actually, and my latest work is a book called What You Need to Know Now. It's an oracle.
Wow.
And the subtitle is The Li Ching Messages, and it's just out, and Barnes & Noble is already reordered. So
wow,
we've got something good happening finally, and getting that, because I've always intended that this information goes into the mainstream, and 20 years later now it's finally happening.
This is kind of like this book. Is it anything like Neil Donald Walsh, Conversations with God?
This particular book, the formatting is different, but the ideas behind it are, and the thrust behind it is pretty well the same.
I can't wait then.
Yeah, it's wonderful. It's the subtitle, as I said, is The Li Ching Messages. And over the years, after we started having our spiritual guidance sessions, I started taping and keeping track of all my private talks with Li Ching and all the stuff that was coming through me, as well as through Tina and Betsy. And so it turned out there were hundreds of them, and I put them all together in a book where you open it to any page and it tells you what you need to know in the moment, what you need to know now.
Oh, wow.
That is...
In fact, let's just open it. Pick me a page number between 1 and 500, and let's see what it says.
43.
43. I'm going to set the phone down here. Get it here. 43. We turned right to it. Isn't that... Don't you love
Shocking.
it?
I do love that stuff.
You are so much more than you think you are. You are the answer to the prayers of God.
Oh, that's lovely.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, I love it.
So we are so much more than we think we are. And those question you were asking earlier, Pete, about the people who and their limitations. Why we've been conditioned and taught that that we're less than, that we're not worthy of, and of course we bought into those things, and because we were so young, we believed that the people, the adults around us, wouldn't lead us astray. And here I am at this point in my adult life, finally figuring it out that hey, I am unlimited, and that I truly, anything I can think, I can manifest. And as more people do that, as more people begin to rid themselves of their limitations, we will see that we are creating a world that is in support of us 24/7, 365, and all thoughts of sickness and all those thoughts of war and all those thoughts of enemies and all those thoughts of less than, they're all going to go away as we begin to integrate these kind of teachings into our lives.
That is just lovely. What you need to know now, the Ching messages. We will definitely put a link directly to that one as your latest work in the show notes, and encourage people to go revisit that. It looks like, Amazon needs to reorder too. They only have a couple left in stock. So jump on that. What else would you like to? Where else would you like to invite people to learn more about you?
Well, I'd like to tell them about 2 free programs. The first one's called The Bridge, and it's these are at intenders.com, which actually shifts over to highestlighthouse.com now. And the Bridge is just simply a course in self-empowerment, where you get a message every day, and these are meant to take you to a more proficient place in your manifesting skills. And the other one, the one that has been my labor of love lately, is called the Vision Alignment Project. And and that's what it is. It's visionalignmentproject.com, all one word, visionalignmentproject.com.
I like the sound of that, Tony. What's that?
And I had a dream one night, Michelle, to start a website, call it the Vision Alignment Project. Woke me up in the middle of the night with it. I started writing as fast as I could. Me too. And so I call it the Vision Alignment Project and begin to write a paragraph or 2 or 3 on all sorts of different subjects. Ended up writing over 400 of these little visions, and on everything from the better treatment of the dolphins to bringing the highest good into the business arena to enhancing conscience to you name it. There's, like I said, there's 400 of them, and you get them in your email twice a week, and it's free. And in the dream, I was shown to put a big yes, I align with this button, which I made in Photoshop, and put that after each vision, and told the people who read the vision that if they hit this yes button, that they are in that moment consciously contributing to the creation of that vision. That it was a way for people to know that they were making a difference in the world if they couldn't think of any other way to do it. So as it turns out, this has caught on, and we've as of today we're considerably over 2 million alignments. The buttons.
Oh my goodness.
I love it.
I was just going to say, this is like this is the kind of poll I like taking. I align with this.
Yeah.
In this political season, I want, this is the button I'll click.
Exactly.
Yeah.
For crying out loud.
Yeah.
What took you so long to come into my life, Tony Burroughs?
What took me so long to come into my life?
This is beautiful. I'm aligning right now. I'm clicking the alignment button right now. This is perfect.
Wonderful.
Wow, look at that. 2,074,018.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. So the Vision Alignment Project, what you need to know now, and I would just add your YouTube, you have a rich YouTube presence, and your talks and presentations and work there for people to get to know you a little bit more intimately even. It's a wonderful catalog of your gifts back to the world. So we'll put a link to your various properties there as well.
When we started out, we didn't realize we were going to be creating templates or blueprints. And as it turned out, the Entender Circle is a blueprint for gathering in community and becoming empowered together and manifesting your dreams. And as it turned out, the code itself is a beautiful guideline for daily living. It's an empowered guideline for daily living. And as it turned out, the Vision Alignment Project turned out for a way for people to make a difference and actually contribute to creating a better world for all of us to live in.
That is a lovely sentiment as we wrap up here, Tony. Thank you so much for the gift of your time today.
Tony, you have definitely kicked off our 2016 in the most profound way. I cannot thank you enough for joining us today. This has been unbelievable.
Well, it's
Thank you.
A labor of love. And if I were to leave our audience with anything, I would leave them with these 4 words that sort of all encompass the things we've learned over the years. And if you've got a pencil and paper out there, write these 4 words down because they'll serve you well. Envision only positive outcomes.
I'm writing it down.
I'm writing it down too.
It's going to go on my bathroom mirror, so I see it every day.
And Michelle, it's my intention that I come visit you all and your friends in Nashville here in the next year.
I am intending the same thing, so we will definitely make that happen.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
That is beautiful. Tony Burroughs, thank you so much for your time and your attention to our audience today.
Indeed.
On behalf of Michelle Chalfant, I'm Pete Wright, and we will catch you next week right here in the Adult Chair.